No, the dynamic also makes me think of The Color Wheel, the Alex Ross Perry movie, which is one of the only decent movies to come out of like the Mumblecore movement, in my opinion.
Okay.
Wow. Shots fucking fired. Jesus.
You know what? The Puffy Chair has a couple words it wants to take you into a corner.
You are listening to Fruitless, a podcast hosted by me, Josiah Sutton. This is episode 28, The Puffy Chair, featuring AJ Ditty from The Worst of All Possible Worlds. Works out for me. But I'll formally say welcome everyone to another exciting episode of Fruitless. I am joined today by the worst of all AJ Ditties. That's right.
Mm-hmm. I'm the worst of all possible AJ Ditties. That is me. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I am so excited to get to talk about this movie that I saw when I was 16 years old in a grungy movie theater in Los Angeles that I had been dragged to by a friend of mine from San Diego. We drove 2.5 hours to watch this movie. So if my comments going forward sound harsh, it is because I drove 2.5 hours to watch Mark Duplass have a quarter-life crisis.
Well, and I mean, if you're watching this at 16 too, I don't think I would have gotten much out of this movie at 16 the way I'm 26 now.
Oh my God.
I get a lot more out of it now than I
Josiah,
probably would have.
you're a baby. You're a wee child. My bones are turning to dust even looking at you. Yeah, my friend who dragged me up there, though, he got a shit ton out of this movie. Like, he remains, I think, probably the coolest person I've ever met, and he is the sole reason that I had any sort of cool credibility growing up at all. He was like my cool friend, and he introduced me to indie theater. He introduced me to like songs on vinyl, man. You know, what's the one? What's the one where the airplane is crashing into the sea? I always forget that artist.
Bright Eyes.
The Bright Eyes album.
That's one of my favorite albums of all time. Yeah,
it's a great album, but that's what I'm saying. I would have never. I was singing Assassins, you know, in my car. Like I was the musical theater nerd. I was not listening to Bright Eyes, and then I heard he's like, "Oh man, we're going into the ocean," and I said, "Okay, hold on," or whatever, and it blew my fucking mind. To be fair, that was also one of the first times I tried weed. Hi, Dad. I know you're listening to this. Shocker, I did weed as a teenager. Oopsie poopsies.
Yes. Well. Yeah, welcome, AJ. You're also officially the third. I've gotten all the Worst of All Possible Worlds hosts now.
You completed
I've got
the
bingo.
set.
I got it. Yeah. Do I get a prize? Or?
You do get a prize. Well, I would actually say it's more of a, a punishment, because now you have to talk to me about the Puffy Chair for about an hour and a half.
I'm super excited to do that. My prize is getting a chance to rewatch the Puffy Chair and actually enjoying it more on the second viewing.
Hell yeah, because I also did that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have fun talking. Well, I've been talking a lot of shit about Mumblecore.
Yes. I think it's time you came out and said you have some stuff to apologize for.
Oh yeah. So on my this is almost a year ago, so it's really funny. It still bothers me. But when I appeared on your guys' show like last year, which I think it would have been last spring, so I think almost literally a year ago.
Oh my God! Really? Wow.
So this is still bothering me. I made a comment where I was like said something about The Color Wheel, and then I said that was the one of the only good Mumblecore movies, and both you and Brian like gasped. And
I was being sarcastic. Here's what I will say. I was doing it for the bit. Be like, whoa. And then I said the Puffy Chair. Like, you just can't discount the Puffy Chair like that.
Right.
Being very sarcastic about it because, again, I had not seen this movie since I was 16 and I hated it
I was
funny 16.
Because when I did, this was one of the few Mumblecore movies I also liked. Like when I was binging them, I was binging a bunch of them last year. This was one of the ones I liked. And so it was actually like a good counterpoint, even though you intended it as a joke. I was like, oh shit, that is a good movie. Fuck.
And now that I've watched it, I agree with you in a way that I feel like actually this movie would probably hit the hardest if I was still like 25 or 26. Now it feels enough removed where it does feel like, oh yeah, AJ of that time would be like, this is so me, particularly the relationship, that I was in at the time. That was like, oh yeah, 100%. But now I'm just kind of like, oh, these poor crazy kids, they're going to get married off screen. It's going to be fine.
Things will work out. But I mean, man, it is an incredibly cynical movie for, I mean, in a way that like, I don't know, because I remembered it as more twee and heartfelt than like, this is kind of like some of Wes Anderson's movies too, where you remember them as these like bright, colorful, like twee kind of movies. Yeah. And then it's like, oh God, that guy's like slitting his wrists. Oh my God. Like it's like, oh, right. These are
so
pretty
delightfully.
Heavy.
Yeah. He's having a good time.
He's doing it very aesthetically and very.
Yes. Right in the center of the frame.
Right in the, yeah.
I haven't seen Asteroid City yet, but I
still haven't
really
either.
dying to. It has a play in it. I'm like the theater boy. You would think I would be flocking to this thing, but sometimes I avoid things that I like. And sort of seek out the things that I know I won't like because that can be more fun for me.
Right. I've watched a bunch of Mumblecore movies I hate, and I still haven't seen the last two Scorsese movies. And fair, I know I'll like them.
They're lengthy.
They're lengthy.
Long.
That's true.
Mumblecore movies, you're in and out, right? Because they cannot sustain themselves past a certain point.
There is a point when of diminishing return. I think when I see a 90-minute Mumblecore movie, I go, oof, that's long.
Yeah. This needs to come in at a tight 79.
But yeah, so in defense of Mumblecore a little bit, here's a good Mumblecore movie. So what was your experience? No, wait, you've already talked. You gave your experience.
Oh, I can give more. I can give so much more context.
Tell me all about seeing this for the first time.
So in The Disaster Artist, they filmed the premiere of The Room in the actual theater where I think The Room premiered. I think they did like a 1-to-1 recreation of that theater. That was the theater that I saw the Puffy Chair in for the first time. It was a rundown, like I remember most distinctly. It's less the film because honestly, there's large chunks of this film I don't remember. I obviously remember spoilers for the Puffy Chair. Go watch it. It's on Freevee. You can watch it right now. Go enjoy the movie. Come back. But like the main image I remember is of the Puffy Chair being lit on fire. Like I think that's the only. Most of the movie's so ugly and unrememberable and how it looks, which I actually like about it, but it's that way. But that's the one like bordering on beautiful, striking moment, Yeah, it is funny watching this movie and being like, oh, this was after 9/11 because it feels like in that shot where they're driving down the highway, like the camera would just like pan to the left and the two towers would still be there because it's so grainy and it looks like it was recorded on a camcorder. I know it wasn't, but it was done on they did say the name of the camera, but I'm so bad with cameras. This is why Brian needs to be here. Brian.
Yeah, I don't remember the name, but they spent like 10 grand on the camera or something, which is crazy.
Yeah, and the other $5,000 in the budget went towards the actors and the music rights to Transatlanticism, I guess.
Which I think is kind of funny. I mean, so it sounds like you were more enjoyed the music breaks. Music breaks was one of the few things I felt could have been cut out of it.
Just get those things out of there.
But I might, yeah.
I think that's sort of one of the things. It's just like it sets it in such a time and place. Transatlanticism, was the song that white boys listen to feel things. If there wasn't a copy of Fridays around to scream about an airtime disaster, it was definitely Transatlanticism, and that playing over. It's so. they cut to like the big climax of the song, and I think the reason that that particular Death Cab song works as well as it does is because it's so long, and the build up takes so long that by the time you reach "Come On," you're also going "Come On," because you've been reminded of every single person who's ever broken your heart, who you need so much closer. But yeah, it feels like it sets this movie up in a way that you're like, oh, by the end, they're going to get together. Because at the beginning, they're having all these tiffs or whatever, but they can't stay in transatlanticism. And then, surprise, the whole thing's about a very long breakup. And that's so cool. That you never see that happen in indie movies. The white guy always like gets everything he wants. He his privilege,
and not just. I mean, I would also say like Duplass is what I really like is like Mark Duplass is not. He's not a likable guy in this either. Like it's not like there are a lot of Mumblecore movies or indie movies where like you said, the white guy gets the girl at the end, all that cliche, but also he might have some flaws, but, understandable flaws. And at the end of the day, he's pretty much a solid dude. No, Mark sucks in this. Like, he's great as an actor. He plays the role well, but he's like
phenomenal as an actor.
Yeah, but he's a prick.
Yeah. You know what I kept thinking the entire time watching this? I wanted the alternate universe where he played Jim on The Office. Like, because imagine a world where Krasinski didn't get the power he did, so he couldn't, just blatantly rip off A Quiet Place from someone else and settle out of court about it. Or if he, by the way, listeners, before we started talking, Mike, Josiah and I were like, we can't really shit talk people on podcasts anymore. Now that's sort of come to, ever since Tina Fey told us not to, we can't. And here I am coming after Krasinski, one of the most powerful CIA assets in Hollywood, allegedly. So, and we'd be spared his If, which is a movie that posits, what if imaginary friends were real? That totally original idea from the mind of John Krasinski. What the fuck? The man thinks he invented the concept of good news and imaginary friends? Get the fuck out of here. You wish you were Mark Duplass in the Puffy Chair. I'm coming for you, Jim. Look coy into the camera if you want, but I will burn you.
I totally do stand by this though. I think Duplass actually I would much rather see him fall, because I don't know. I don't see Mark Duplass getting tempted by like the action hero role or things like that.
Yeah,
in the way that Krasinski was.
There's no Jack Ryan in his future. No.
Have you seen the Creep movies with Mark Duplass?
No.
Really good, actually. Like some pretty solid found footage movies.
I saw that he had writing credit or directing credit on both of those, and he starred in both of them.
He stars, and he plays such a good psycho, like just an insane murderer person.
Yeah, there's sort of just like a simmering energy underneath him. We just watched Reds this last week for the podcast, and we talk a lot about how Jack Nicholson is also that way. How you can't like put Jack Nicholson in a romantic role and not have that air of menace slowly boiling underneath. It's just like at any moment Jack Nicholson could go full on The Shining.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Even before The Shining, like that's just kind of
he's just got he just has a certain menace to him. Yeah, absolutely.
Can you imagine Jack Nicholson in this movie? Can you imagine Jack Nicholson being like, I'm gonna stand here and watch you reupholster this chair. I'm gonna sit in my truck and watch you.
I'm laughing even more at him being Rhett, who we haven't even introduced yet, but that is a very funny mental image to me. Like the whole marriage scenes.
We've decided that we're gonna get married.
Oh my god. Well, we might as well like just dive right into the actual plot.
Let's go for it.
Let's do it.
What a film to be made by just, two guys who borrowed $15,000 from their parents and decide to take this thing on the road, and yet it never feels like cheap artistically. Like all the shots are so well plotted out. You can see like that these guys got that, what I hear your generation calls the Riz.
That's right. Yeah. Well, and I mean, it's really interesting comparing this movie to, on the Fruitless Patreon, we talked about Kissing on the Mouth a few weeks back.
Okay.
And that's the Joe
the first
Swanberg
one. Is that the first Mumblecore? Is that like the no? So
the first one is Funny Haha.
That's the one. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, that's like 2003, I think. And then 2005 though is when it actually blew up, like at Sundance and stuff. And so that's the year we get the Puffy Chair. We get Kissing on the Mouth is Joan Swanberg's contribution, and then you get A Mutual Appreciation is the other one, which is okay.
That's what I call when a mutual masturbation is successful.
We mutually appreciated each other.
Well, I mean, I appreciate that. Do you? Yes. So we mutually appreciate it. Great.
Shake hands afterwards.
Doctor.
But so comparing this to like Kissing on the Mouth, though, it's like, man, this has a story. Even if it's a loose one, it's
what is Kissing on the Mouth's whole vibe? Like, how does that feel as a movie? Is it just like a bunch of people hanging out? Like, what's the vibe of that?
Barely even that. It cuts to like, like Joe Swanberg recorded a bunch of like interviews with college students. They're supposed to be like the Sex Lies and Videotape thing, kind of, but not really. And so they just kind of play that over a really boring kind of plot that's about the main woman is hooking up with her ex, and then she's talking about how hooking up with an ex is weird to her friend, and she's also got a roommate who wants to sleep with her but won't admit it, and he's being jealous. And that's about it. That really is it. And then its only reputation comes from there's a scene of Joe Swanberg unsimulated jacking off to completion.
Oh, okay.
So there's a bunch of like really graphic sex in it, and that's why it.
I see. Yeah, and I guess this is the complete opposite vibe, because this is like the least sexy movie you could ever watch.
Well, okay, to be clear, Kissing on the Mouth isn't my guest on that described it as both leering and unerotic at the same time.
Can I mean, it sounds like it could be. I mean, it really is the two wolves inside of you, right? It's either going to be leering and unerotic or the hottest thing you've ever seen. You will mutually appreciate with the film.
That's right. Yeah. No, yeah, but so you compare them, and the vibes are just so different, where not just that it has a plot, but also I think the characters are really lived in, like in this. Yeah. I don't know. It's got the same like improv dialogue and stuff, but like Kissing on the Mouth's improv dialogue feels like people doing improv, but they don't know the yes and rule. Like they're like, oh no. It's just the real like circular conversations, as this feels like what actual arguments feel like when you're in a rough relationship. Yeah.
I mean, this opening scene it establishes things like so clearly and quickly. You know, we see Mark Duplass like drumsticking with a chicken drumstick, and you can tell that he and Emily, I believe is her name, the character's name. Yeah. It's Josh and Emily are these two, and they start doing baby talk to each other, and I'm just like, oh yeah, they're doing the weird couple voice that don't show other people.
I'm so glad you point this out immediately, because this is a staple of like a mumblecore in general, and it is to varying degrees how good it is. Because in this movie, it works perfectly. Yes, I find it annoying, but because hearing anyone else's couple talk is annoying.
That's exactly
but I also
what it
do
would
it
be.
myself. You know what I mean? Like I've
you
done
recognize
that in
the truth in it. Like this movie like radiates truth out of every interaction, which again, for a first full feature, is an insane accomplishment.
Yeah, absolutely. As like, I don't know, in a lot of other mumblecore movies, it'll be like two people doing that kind of baby talk, but they're having a fight while using it, and then it's like, it feels like two people that don't know how to communicate, and it starts getting really frustrating to watch, and not in like a productive way. But in this, it just captures it beautifully. It like, okay, you see this relationship really, really established with their little silly banter, and then of course,
the table gets upended.
Very literally.
Okay. So here's a question I had. Were these flip phone, earphone things around? Do you like remember these when you were a kid at all?
I don't remember them very much. No, I mean, they had to have been around, but nobody I grew up around was using them.
Yeah. It is immediately such a great like time and place setter, right? We haven't gotten any of the music tracks yet. So again, you think you might be in like the early 90s, and then there's a flip phone with this earpiece, and you immediately establish two things. One, that we are definitely in the early 2000s, and two, this guy is a prick. This guy is like the worst guy you've ever met. Just hold the phone up to your ear like a normal person.
Well, what I love about this movie is on the whole, I think Mark Duplass's character is the most in the wrong in the relationship.
Oh yeah.
But what I love about this interaction is it does what a lot of the movie does, which is you don't leave the scene quite sure of who you think is the good guy, because he takes the phone, he's being a prick, and you're like, oh, come on, dude, you're being a bit of a dick. And so you're taking her side. Yeah. and then
she flips the table. She knocks all the glassware on the floor, and I'm like, what is this, a college acting class? What is this? I'm sorry, any acting class with a man?
It's incredible. Like, it's just, he's being annoying for sure, but then the reaction is to 10. And so you're like, man, this is just a bad relation. We have gone from seeing, oh, this is a nice, like, normal relationship to, oh no, these two are rough.
Yeah. And that it can turn on that dime like that it can go like so quickly. I love that his response after she storms out is to the guy on the phone. And he's like, oh, it's just the TV. Just like, we immediately get like so much information about this relationship, which is one, this has happened before and often, because he's shaken by it, but not in a way that it's like, this is a brand new development, right?
No, it's kind of stunned and just annoyed.
Yeah. Like, now I have to clean up all this fucking glass. And like, two, it's like, you're immediately hooked of like, okay, so what kind of person is she that she would just do this out of nowhere? Like, how long has this been going on? Are they actually doomed, or did something happen? Did he cheat on her? Like, are they coming back from that?
Because you're also like, if this is such an extreme reaction, then also like, maybe there's history here. Maybe it wasn't that extreme. Maybe with a bunch of history here, we would understand it more, but you just don't know. And actually, I kind of liked what you had said earlier about, even though we'll jump back, but you know, when the music does come on, you had mentioned it just cuts to the climax of transatlanticism. It doesn't play the whole build up. And in a way, isn't that kind of how you're starting this movie out, is at the climax of their relationship before things are about to fall apart? You know what I mean? These are like, this is where all that tension is built up. So we start without knowing the backstory and just in the middle of this thing's about to break apart.
Oh man, that's so smart. Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's an entire movie in the denouement, and you kind of feel that too. Or it's like, I feel like this still is very much a very sort of masculine structure, right? Which is, a traditional story structure of build, single climax, and then you go to sleep, right? Like, that's of the mark of everything that Joseph Campbell stood for, and also other things he supported. Like, hold on, I'm just gonna check my notes here, and oh no, okay, maybe don't look into what else Joseph Campbell was really a big fan of. That seems... Oh dear. I didn't know he spoke German. So, there's... So it is interesting that, like, it is like, that's kind of what the movie feels like, is that you are in this endless tailspin, like you're headed toward the sea, and there's a man with a very high-pitched, nasally voice next to you screaming at you, going, well, I guess we're gonna die, but like, that is reflected in the song. That's so smart. Oh, they're so smart. And I know you can dramaturg your way out of everything, but that feels just so intentional, because all the shots in this movie are also just so intentional.
They really are. And that's the thing, is because, like, I think people think the shitting on Mumblecore is about the fact that it's cheap indie movies.
Right.
But that's not the problem with Mumblecore. Like, that you can make fantastic cheap indie films. You just have to, like, have intent. And this movie has some intent.
Yeah.
And, like, I think it was, they were really smart in how they did it too, because they'd had one short film before they made this one. And so their game plan was, if we can make one short film, let's build a film around like a road trip, because road trips are just a series of vignettes kind of anyway.
Right.
And so then we can just have 7 short films that are linked together. And the movie kind of feels that way. So like we just got through short film number 1, which was that fight. And now we're to beginning of Road Trip with him doing the say anything thing outside.
Sitting out the window, morning. But he doesn't have the Peter Gabriel CD. So he's already fucked up again. Yeah, it's like once you know that this whole thing is a breakup, all the signs along the like it's a breakup movie. Like all the signs along the way, they're like threading it very softly. But again, when you're 16 years old and watching this, you're kind of like, oh, but he's the good guy. He's the guy I'm used to seeing like win in these things. So clearly he's going to be able to turn it around. But yeah, at every corner they're just peppering stuff in, and they got to introduce his weird fucking brother who loves just shooting lizards, I guess, in the bushes outside of his home. Does he have a job? Probably not. He's just a magical character, old Rhett. I really like this actor too.
Rhett's great. Yeah.
And
one last thing quick I was about to say about Josh in the say anything thing though is like what I think is kind of interesting about it is as things go on, Josh's big fault and what Emily's mad at him about is that he can't really communicate his emotions or really express like love or whatever. And so then what the example of him trying to express love is him pulling something from pop culture. Like he has to pull from previous scripts from movies to know how to communicate romantically.
I don't like this picture because I'm in it.
Sorry, I wanted to throw that out there because I thought that was really interesting
important.
too.
That is a very important thing, and a thing we're going to see, I think, a couple more times in the movie too.
But yeah, so the plan is they're going on this road trip, and he's going to swing by Rhett's place to visit his brother, and then they're going to go and they're going to pick up a big puffy chair, big puffy red chair, the titular one.
Yes.
That it resembles the one that they had as a kid. So he's got this nostalgic gift, and then they're going to finish the road trip at their parents' place where he's going to give the gift.
Yeah, he bought it off of eBay, so he had to print out the copy of the thing on eBay.
That was a placing it in a time and place thing, like you've been pointing out. Yeah, me, for sure.
Did you ever have to print out? Something for? Okay,
I would be pretty young when that was a thing, but I was still like. I remember
you would have memories at that point, certainly. But I mean, I remember like when I would have to drive places in high school, I would print out MapQuest things, MapQuest directions to houses, because this was before Google Maps and all that.
Yeah.
But it was, or maybe it was in the beta stages. I don't know. I feel like somebody in the comments is going to be like, well, actually, Google Maps came out in 2008. You rube,
I'm sure
you fool.
It did.
But yeah, no, it's really lovely because just seeing the old font of eBay. Like I haven't been on eBay in years, but like it still has this sort of Craigslist like murder font is the only way I can describe it. But yeah, they're on that quest, and we meet Rhett, and he is just so. There's such a profound sadness at the core of him that he just will not reckon with. And you see it almost every moment in his eyes that he's watching his video about that like lizard on the leaf. And you're just like, oh, he is the lizard on the leaf. That's all he wants to do is just to sit on a leaf and drink water and be happy. Like that's his whole vibe. And he lives in a world where he can't do that. That is the tragedy of Rhett.
Yeah. Yeah, Rhett's a great character. He's awesome. He's so funny. But
you said that you had a reading now that it was very cynical this time. Like, do you think there were a lot of? I didn't really notice it because I was watching it sort of more with the emotional sentimentalist sort of take on it. But like, were there a lot of pointed jokes like directed at Rhett in particular? Because I caught some of them.
I didn't catch a ton of them, but until later, I think like for me, how on this viewing, how I had seen it was that Rhett was funny because Josh was so jaundiced about the world. And then Rhett is like the stereotype of like, let's be open to the world, man. Yeah. Kind of like,
thank you for sharing this pizza with me. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then him, like, again, spoiler for one of the actual bigger developments later. We're going to spoil it all, but like later on when he after the wedding when he just dumps her after the wedding.
Immediately she starts crying. He's like, not for me, dude. I gotta be happy all the fucking time.
That's when the cynical joke of it paid off to me, where it's more like he's really not actually this open lovey-dovey person like he's been conveying this whole time. Yeah,
because they do hold back on that punchline for a really long time, because this is a character that in a lot of other comedies or a lot of other movies would be like the naive
voice of wisdom
idiot. Yeah.
Like stupid wisdom, like the simpleton who actually gets it better than all the smart ones around him. Yeah.
This big city lawyer just learned something from you, Rhett, and it was that I got to appreciate my daughter more or something. Yeah. 100%.
Let's see what happens after that.
Well, he goes. He comes along on the road trip now. He's their new road trip buddy.
Yeah, and he kind of like signs himself up for it, which is, this is the kind of stuff where I think I wasn't watching it as closely last time, because I think a lot of the comedy of it is never in the actual dialogue, although sometimes it is, but like it's often in people's facial expressions is where I started finding how funny this movie was. And it's because it becomes immediately apparent what he's about to ask, but he's really dawdling about it, where he's like, I really respect your guys' road trip and your time alone and stuff. And they just both look at each other like, fuck me. Like it's just like quick, and it just made me laugh.
Yeah. And then also the look on her face of just like, oh, he's gonna come, isn't he? Like there's no way he's not.
Like this isn't gonna be a discussion. This is just
oh God. And then they get in the car and he's asleep in the back, and Josh asks Emily, are you mad at me? And she says, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. And this was really interesting. I read A.O. Scott's review of the Puffy Chair. Sort of like, okay, what did like the main establishment sort of think about this movie? And he said the Puffy Chair does a lot of heavy lifting as a metaphor for the film. But a thing he pointed out that I thought was very, very smart, which was just that none of these people know how to be adults and are desperately clinging on to childhood for dear life. And the way they do that is that Emily is actually trying to like act like an adult, but she's just parroting a thing her parents said to her when she was like 5 or 6 years old. Like even when they speak in their baby talk to each other, they're just trying to like stay kids for as long as possible. And this movie is just sort of proof of how that's completely unsustainable, and how if you build all of that stuff into a chair, the titular Puffy Chair, that the only way for you to actually grow up is to be like Rhett and to burn it all to the fucking ground. But first we get a motel heist, and that goes on for a long time.
I do love this. I love this.
It's like what I love about it is it does all that thing that really good like classic comedy does, right? Which is just it exhausts like sort of every single comedic angle you can come at a thing, because just when you think it's done, there's a new level of complication, and you're just like, fuck, man. Oh fuck.
Yeah, it feels like it's just getting really down to the logistics of how this is going to be too complicated, like not worth it at this point, But so they when the van pulls up to this motel, Josh makes Emily duck her head down, and he informs them that he found out that he can get the room for $10 cheaper if he's alone, so he's going to lie.
And also here, and I think the best punchline is you find out how much this room is for, and it's like $10, I think. Like, dude, just pay the extra $5. What's wrong with you? Which also, in 2005, I was obviously not renting hotel rooms in like 2005, 2006, right? I was a teenager, but like,
I still don't think that was a ton of money.
Yeah, no, I feel like, Motel 6, obviously you could get a room for $6 a night. That's where the motel got its name. But like, and Super 8, you could get it, for $8 a night. But that was like back when it was originally founded, and it didn't account for inflation or anything. But I would have sworn that in the 2000s, it was still pretty expensive to like rent a room somewhere. Now you can't get a room for less than like $60 a night, $64 a night.
Yeah. I would be surprised to find a hotel room for like $50 somewhere, even out here in the Midwest. I do wonder
if there are some places in New York that would probably charge hourly. I'm sure somewhere.
Oh well,
I don't know if those still exist anymore. Like that's sort of the thing. It got most of them got eradicated, when Giuliani decided to clean up the town.
Okay, where were we? So it was a rat.
We're at the hotel heist. We're at the motel.
And the hotel heist. That's right. Motel heist. Yeah. So to do that, he goes in, and he has them both, ducked down, hiding in the van, and he, goes in to buy it. And the scene's so funny because Rhett is just like mortified at the concept of him lying. And so the whole time he's just looking her in the eye. He's just like saying that to himself.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love that line because it is so quintessentially Rhett in this movie. And then like Emily comes in with this like fucking stab to the gut where she says, "That's Josh." And it's like, Jesus Christ. Because here's the thing, like, by the time you reach the end of the movie, I think it's one of the only films where you're like, break up, break up, break up. I mean, because what has he lied to her about? Like, because that's the other thing. Like, there's so much of this relationship that we just don't get answers to.
We don't know. Yeah.
They've been together for like 6 years at this point. Like, it seems like this is like their first big major relationship. And, that is sort of where like the first big breakup happens, I think. Generally, it's like 25, 26. I feel like the performances in this movie across the board are really, really lovely. But Emily really knocks it out of the park.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And that line is just, it's very telling. And it's a lot of the stuff. It's interesting because it's telling regardless of like, is it that Josh is a real piece of shit or is it that she always just sees him that way? It doesn't really matter. Point is, it's communicated how broken this situation is.
They do not belong together.
They shouldn't be together. Yeah.
We go into the. I mean, speaking of them not belonging together, right? We get another fight from them after all these shenanigans, where he's finally able to get both him and Emily into the hotel.
Yeah, makes her run with his clothes on, so that the lady thinks it's great. It's very funny.
Also some very subtle costume design here that I want to point up. He is wearing a red shirt and she is wearing a green shirt because he wants to put a stop on their relationship where it is, and she, as we learn later, wants to get married and go forward. So they're literally those two. If he had been wearing a yellow shirt, if Red had been wearing a yellow shirt, I think that would have kind of been a little too on the nose. But it's just like, now it's just nice and subtle, a nice little thing under the surface there. They get into a huge fight because she decides to start shit right before he goes to sleep. And here's the thing. Don't ask questions that you know are going to end poorly right before your partners go to sleep.
I see. This is because okay, he's such a prick in this movie, but then there's also moments where I really empathize with him during a specific moment, and then I start to go, "Am I a real shitty dude?" Then,
yeah.
So I'm just happy you pointed out this. This is fucked up.
It is.
Like,
it really
is. They're just falling asleep, and she's like, "What do you love about me?"
It's like, whoa. Okay. What? Wow.
No.
Well,
No.
yeah, no, and he doesn't really show it. And look, here's the other side of this. The other side of this, like I do understand, right? Like, if you are going to vomit, it is better that you vomit sooner than later, right? It is better that you get all this all out there so it doesn't fester. You want the stuff out in the open. But it is also one of those things where it's just like, oh, come on. Just like an hour or two of sleep, at least. We just did a whole motel heist. We don't need to do this now. But she's very hopeful that, he's going to say the thing that like makes the relationship worth staying in. And he fucks up. He fucks up again.
Yeah, because I mean, well, so she points out earlier in the day, Rhett had said that Emily is beautiful and she smiled and stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And so she's like, so she's like, the Rhett's the only one who said anything nice to me today. And that is true. Like, if that's a thing that he should work on, right? I mean, I wouldn't bring it up at midnight, but whatever.
Right. Honestly, he's like, say something nice about me. And he's like, what? She could have just been like, say something nice about me. And it would have been over, done, great.
And there's so many things like that where, because then I go like, yes, this is annoying, but you can just like say something nice and it'll be okay. But then when he says, you're beautiful, he just says what Rhett said. And I'm like, that's the worst thing I think you could have said.
Yeah, it's another case of him not saying his own words, but stealing from someone else's.
Other people's words. Yeah.
It's the say anything all over again. Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
I mean, it's so funny because it's such a clearly defined dude in a way that I feel like a lot of the kind of movies like this that I've seen in the past, sort of these more indie movies, like it's not, it like kind of shies away from making its protagonist unlikable in any way, but it also usually overcorrects and makes them not human anymore and makes them into more like a hero, like a champion or a savior or whatever.
Right. No,
and this
your
one is
protagonist
just like,
shouldn't be. No.
Yeah, no. They know exactly what kind of shitty guys do that aren't like these big like abusive gestures, but just kind of suck. And they like, yeah.
Well, and in a subtle, like, I think there's a subtlety to it of doing the kind of shitty stuff that I could see myself doing on a bad day. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's what I really like about it, is because, it's like a kind of shitty where if at least if you are a straight white guy like me watching it, you can get real uncomfortable for a moment because you're like, I'm pretty sure I've done this before. I'm pretty sure I've said this before. This sucks.
Yeah. And as someone who has lived, most of his life sort of in a straight white guy mode, right? Yeah, in my early 20s, 100% I was this asshole. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's
right, yeah.
There's so much of this movie that I find myself cringing at because I just feel like, oh no, that I did that and it was fucking awful. But I like that it's just not, he's not like the worst guy you've ever met. And it's like when I see movies that are just like, that try to like forgive like racism by making it like, the most cartoonishly southern evil racism, and then all the white people got and sort of like, well, I'm not like that, so I can't be racist. It's the same thing, but for just like misogyny. Right? That's what this movie feels like. It's like it's trying to sort of not give in to the all misogynists beat their partners and are verbally abusive, right? Some misogynists just kind of suck like you suck sometimes because you live in a society that has, ingrained that misogyny into you.
And, in general, this is something that like broadly with Mumblecore or with these kind of like indie films about like, young adults in insert major-ish city here who are, overeducated and, artistically minded, but, kind of downwardly mobile, etc. Like there's a lot of movies like in this, Mumblecore, I think of it, then like Noah Baumbach's movies are a lot of those, right? Yeah. I think they are almost always better if they're also really poking at the types of people in like that come out of that. They're not self-congratulatory about that, or they're not necessarily just going like, oh, it's so hard to be in this situation or whatever, but it's actively looking at like, well, am I shitty? Like they make you kind of like have to think about that.
Well, it's asking a question, right? Like I feel like the great art asks questions as opposed to like, because the other side of this could be completely self-hatred, right? This guy is so fucking despicable because I hate myself and I hate everything about myself. And this movie actually, even though it is very up close and personal, it does take this sort of very objective view of just like, this is actually what a lot of relationships just look like. And it doesn't put too much judgment really on anyone. It's just like, this is sometimes people just aren't meant to be together, and it makes them act in ways that are shitty because their bodies are actively telling them, get out of this relationship. It is not. This is not your person.
Yeah, I think that's what these movies do best, is make you kind of have to, especially if you are someone who is in this kind of, I don't know, a similar milieu to the movies. It makes you question yourself rather than be like, oh yeah, it gets me. But it should be like, oh, it gets me. I don't like that it gets me.
This movie doesn't get me. It didn't play a song I blared during a breakup over its opening credits. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Totally. Let's see, where are we at? So, and this is, okay, here's the kind of dry little dark jokes to this too, right? That after they fight a little bit, they finally, I mean, they barely resolve it, but they start joking around, and then
they do some tickling.
They're happy. They do some tickling. They're happy for a second, and then finally, because it's not like they're screaming or shouting that is the one that is what gets them caught. It's their joyful laughing is what makes the person who owns the motel realize there's two voices in there, and
because she
Josh
saw the
ends up
guy
having to.
in the
Right.
trunk, right? Like she shined a flashlight on Rhett in the van. And she was just like, and that would be bad enough, but now there's someone else in there. There's 3 fucking people. And this has to be the woman who just owns the motel, right? Like
It seems like it, yeah.
She's great. She's great, honestly. She's she's great on camera. I always like watching sort of non-actors act because there's a wonderful charm to them.
Yeah, I really like that.
Sounded real condescending, didn't it? Fuck that. No. No. It's like, but it is like they have a natural, like like people who aren't trying to act, like they have a very natural presence that I feel like a lot of actors.
It's like it's the Bresson thing, right? There's something about I don't know, casting the non-professional actors. Yeah, no, I totally agree. And that's something I like consistently through this movie is it does feel like a real look at America, like at a specific place, at a specific area, in both the sense that it's like the people look just like how when you go on a road trip, the random people you run into look, not everyone's a movie star. And every location just kind of looks like shit. A little bit. Like it's a shitty motel.
Oh, it's
the
terrible.
reupholsters looks terrible, but I've been to so many places like that before.
Yeah, when you lie in that bed, you're like, uh-oh, something terrible happened here. Because they're going to North Carolina, right? Because I know this was mostly shot in Maine, and you can tell. It's like, oh yes, look at the majestic pines of North Carolina.
The location's not super important.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't really matter because they were at the end of the movie. They're like, we're 365 miles out of Atlanta, and I'm like, are you? You're in Maine.
You're totally interested in Maine.
That sign was wrong, or you're driving a car that's going literally 3,000 miles an hour.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
But so that whole interaction ends where he ends up having to pay $40 extra to the hotel to stay, or the motel.
Yeah.
To stay.
Yeah, and they get out of there right in the morning. She throws them out. And so then the next we get a little bit of road trip, and then we get the furniture store. We get the reupholster. Yeah, it's not the reupholster initially. It's the whatever the fuck. It's a furniture store kind of thing. Yeah. I guess it's like a used furniture store. Again, this facility looks terrible, and so does the chair, which is just a piece of shit, and not what was on the eBay picture at all.
It's just like disgusting. It's
you talk about a place where terrible things happened. Something terrible happened to that puffy ass chair.
Oh my god! But one thing that's really interesting about this, right? And something that had clicked with me this time was that you see, the previous scene, we've got Josh, ripping someone off. That was what he went through all that effort to do. Yeah. And then we see the next scene of Josh getting ripped off and just being indignant.
Oh my god. And that he takes the guy out back and expects that his privilege will be enough to make this guy back down. And the guy's just like, what, you're gonna stare at me because you think you're so cool or whatever? Okay, I got a customer, fuck you. And he leaves. And this is when Josh begins to plan his revenge, which he does in a very gross way, frankly.
Oh, this is see, I actually like that this is in the movie, but it's nasty.
It's nasty.
It is a this is what I mean by this on this viewing. I started to see this as a much more mean-spirited movie. Because it's not, I don't know. It's not like a normal being a prick. It's just a little more than that. You know what I mean? It's a little more disgusting. And so from here on out, this is something Josh is capable of. And even though he doesn't really do anything this extreme for the rest of the movie, there's just that. Well, yeah, okay.
He does. There is one bit with the reupholster that we'll get to.
Excuse me. The reupholster.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? Is that it's very clear that if given a set of circumstances, he could be a Richard III or a Dear Evan Hansen. He is just this absolute sociopath who what he wants to be when someone is ripped him off or standing in his way.
Yeah. And so, what he does is he has Emily and Rhett go back out in the car, and he walks around and he notices two Spanish speaking employees and asks them where they're from. And they finds out they're from Honduras and asks them if they work here. And they say no, but they are very obviously doing work. They are stacking chairs.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, I also like this about this movie. It doesn't need to milk it. You figured out what happened. It cuts to just him saying, the guy gave me $300.
Right.
And sent it to a reupholster, and it'll be ready first thing in the morning.
Yeah. And Emily even questions it. And she's like, what do you mean he paid you $300? He's like, don't even worry about it. And you're just like, I'm kind of worried about it.
Yeah, and there's a real sense that everyone knows what he's capable of, like a little bit. And so they all don't like it. Like, they're really like, I mean, yeah, they're not gonna be able to guess off the top. It's like that he's blackmailing this person who's employing illegal, who's pulling undocumented migrants illegally. And if he did do that blackmailing, would get them deported.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And
like, Jesus Christ.
And for what? For a chair.
For a fucking chair that's supposed to be a sentimental, cute gift for his dad.
Because his story matters more than theirs, right? He has such main character syndrome, which is very funny in a movie where he is the main character, right? Like, that's the thing. He's right. He is the main character of this movie. But he's not a sympathetic one. And I think more people who think they are main characters should be like, yeah, but what story is being told, right? Are you the protagonist of the Puffy Chair? Because, my friend, you're probably the protagonist of the Puffy Chair.
Yeah, I like the framing of it as him having main character syndrome, and because that does an interesting way of framing the whole movie, because you're like mad at him for being the main character almost. Like, you don't want him to behave like a main character. But when he does, it sucks.
Yeah, he does. He hasn't earned it, because he's just such a piece of shit sometimes. He also eats a nerd's rope in the theater, which, again, talk about setting it in a time and place. I was just like, Leo pointed at the screen going, nerd's rope, you can't get that anymore. Because it had so much sugar, it almost killed children. That's not true, but it did feel that way. Have you ever had nerd's rope?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
I think you can actually still get nerd's rope.
Is it around? I don't see it in stores much anymore.
No. Well, I think I've run into them. I don't remember the context I would have been eating one, but I've had one semi-recently, and I don't remember why.
Well, Josiah, do you like licorice? Do you like licorice if it's just covered in nerds?
God, those are awesome.
They were. I remember being in a movie theater seeing Pokemon the movie 2000 and just hitting my friends with nerds ropes. I was like, Lugia's on the screen. And my mom's like, 8 more years. 8 more years. 8 more years.
So Josh is eating one of those.
Yep.
He's eating one of those at the theater. So
what are they watching?
they've gone
Did
to
you get
see
the movie that they were watching?
I didn't catch the movie. It doesn't. Does it show it even?
Not really. I think it was kind of a creature feature, maybe. Like, it kind of looked like maybe like an old timey Godzilla or something.
Yeah, it looks like a real shitty theater.
Have you been to one of those theaters? Have you been to one of those small town theaters?
I have. I don't think I've ever been to a small. I've been to theaters in a small town, but they would be like an AMC that just happened to be at a small town or something. Sure. I haven't seen I don't think I've ever been to like a real dingy one like that.
I've been to one that's exactly like that in New Hampshire, because I mean they shot this in Maine, so those kind of theaters are actually kind of all over the place up there. And you can go and see Avengers Endgame on a screen that is slightly bigger than your TV. Like, it is.
Okay.
It's a tiny room with like 2 little speakers. Like, it's fine. Like, if you want to go see an indie movie like The Puffy Chair, I think it's actually kind of like an ideal way to do it, because not only because you can see a theater that you're in on screen, but it feels like an indie theater. Like, you feel the people who run the theater also perhaps made the movie that you're watching, even if it is Avengers Endgame, which is
that little B movie, that little
yeah. Jerry Seinfeld wasn't in Avengers Endgame. Do you like jazz, Josiah? Do you like jazz?
It's fine.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I think it's fine.
I'm trying to decide if I should keep pretending that I don't know what you're referencing or not.
Yeah, I'm referencing B movie. I'm referencing.
I know what you're
yeah.
referencing.
I see.
I couldn't decide. Just genuinely answering the question. Yeah, jazz is fine. What?
No, it's pretty good. I like the playlists on Spotify. I play them. I play them when I'm making eggs in the morning. It's good.
It's almost literally the most of my engagement with jazz too has been like I've been to a jazz bar like once or twice, and aside from that, it's like I occasionally have gone like, what's going on with that on the Spotify playlists? What's going on with jazz?
I remember back in my dating days, I used to pretend that I would like go. I used to pretend I would know things in order to, go on dates and like learn about stuff, And so, if somebody on an app was like, "Do you like jazz music?" I'd be like, "Yeah, but I don't know much about it," and then I'd go to a lot of like jazz clubs and things. That's sort of. I feel like it's sort of the same thing about like being exposed to this movie and being exposed to Bright Eyes. It's just one of those things where it's like, if somebody asks you if you're interested in something, just say, unless you absolutely hate it, just say, I mean, I don't know a lot of about it, but yeah, it sounds cool.
But sure.
And then that's the best way to learn about the world.
It was just being open-minded about like art in general of all types, I think is good. Like, okay. I mean, I could give it an example of like, I have like pretty much no connection to musical theater or real interest in it, but I love your guys' show, and it's made me kind of had to like reconsider that. I'm like, should I be getting more into it? Is it something worthy of exploring?
Get out of here. It's a cesspool that we are trapped in. We are forever sinking down. You don't want the disease that we do.
No.
When people say random things and you're just like singing Sondheim at them.
Yeah, when songs pop in your head like that. Yeah.
It's a curse, but now you have like every Mumblecore movie like in your head, right? Like you've absorbed them like Doctor Strange and Avengers Infinity War. I've talked about Marvel too much for one podcast. I'm so sorry.
Let's see. So they're at the movie theater. They're at the movies. Right? They're at the movies, and this is at this moment, Rhett catches a woman looking at him, and he's looking at her. And they're making eyes at each other. Yeah. And then she gets up to what seems to actually just be she ran to the restroom. But he took his meet me outside.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so here's a question. Is Rhett the first person to ever like actually get a successful date out of someone that was sitting in a movie with him that he didn't know going in beforehand? I know there are specific theaters that are like accommodate that sort of hookup. Like I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about like you're going to see, I don't know, a Garfield the movie with Bill Murray, a stand-up for which is seen in this movie. You see Garfield holding up 3D glasses in the lobby.
Rules.
Of this movie.
I didn't catch that.
But rules. Yeah, like, do you ever go to see, Odie and Garfield get up to some shenanigans in one of the worst movies I've ever seen, and like catch eyes with someone and like marry them
immediately?
Yeah,
I'm sure there's someone out there that's listening to this and like that's
right
how me and
comment below if that's you, fruitless listeners. Come on, let's get some engagement going.
But yeah, so they go out and they talk and they disappear. They don't come back. He asks if she wants to get coffee and they disappear. And, right here, we're seeing the tension with Emily and Josh's relationship, because right off the bat, their reactions to this are different.
Right.
Because Emily is clearly starved for some form of affection and romance in her life. Right. And so she's like, this is super sweet, even though it screams every red flag ever.
Oh,
but she
absolutely.
just needs it. She needs this little romance to be invested in.
Yeah.
And, on the flip side, like Josh is, I think, rightly interpreting the situation, but being a callous prick about it.
Right. You're watching, you're like, oh, you're right, but stop being right. I don't like it when you're right.
I don't like it when you're right.
I mean, look, she was at the movies by herself, this woman that Rhett goes home with. And, I was expecting this, I didn't remember large chunks of this movie besides the chair going up. So I knew that Rhett lived, but I didn't remember the specifics of what happens, when they eventually find him. Because this is a great little detail. Rhett doesn't know Josh's cell phone number, so there's no way for him to get in contact. He's just like, he's lost. And I forget that, that's how that worked. You would just be lost. And they do eventually find him because the manager of the hotel, I guess, tells them where she lives.
Yeah, that was a bit sketchy on like how that was exactly explained, but whatever.
Yeah, who cares?
They figured
it's a
it
small
out.
town, sure.
It's I'm
they
sure
go back to her house and they're just
happen.
slow dancing. And then it's just like they walk in, it's like, hey, want a party? And they're like, we're gonna get fucking married. And you're like, oh no, oh no. But Josh seems like weirdly on board with it at first. He's like, well, we gotta have a fucking party then. It's an engagement party, and things seem okay for a while.
It seems like it's actually a very lovely evening, and like, I don't know. I could kind of imagine in the moment going with the flow on this, where I'm like, this is my eccentric brother, you know.
Yeah.
And maybe I even understand Josh not thinking it's going to work out, but still rolling with it, because it's like, maybe it's not going to work out, but it seems like it's making him really happy right now. And like, I see it. I see rolling with this, even though it's crazy.
It is. I mean, first of all, Josh is not a justice of the peace, so there's no way that this marriage would hold up in any sort of court. But they do insist on being like married right now, and Josh has this moment where he's just saying like, and I'll never make you change no matter what. And you're just like, oh boy. But she recites it back as if it were like an actual wedding vow. And I was very moved by that performance. Like it felt...
No, the whole scene is really, it's actually really nice. He's kind of improvising these vows, but they're not like, you know, they're not bad sentiments inherently. Although, you know, occasionally he says something you can tell it's like, oh, ooh, that's about something that you've been sitting on and annoyed about. But also, you also get some, you know, what is setting up for the dark joke of this whole thing. I mean, it's not that dark, but you know, the joke of this whole thing, right? Is that Red is like, I'll love you even through the bad times, even though there'll never be any bad times. Like he like throws that shit in, and he's like, oh, there won't ever be anything bad. Things are going to be good.
Yeah.
Like,
like no one understands marriage. I think maybe outside of Emily, and even that's a little tenuous.
A little shaky.
That's a little shaky, but like it's very clear that Josh and Rhett do not understand it. Amber is not given. Her name is Amber, by the way. I had to look that up. She is not given enough time to like for us to know pretty much anything about her, other than she likes watching movies and getting married immediately. Like there's not really a whole lot else there.
No, that's a little unfortunate. Maybe a little more from that would have been a little more from Amber would have been good. I don't know.
I think it would have turned us too much against Rhett. Do you know what I mean? Like, because
that's
she is,
true.
We don't really feel anything for the loss of Amber. You know.
Yeah. Well, there's a feel with the whole interaction that this feels like, I mean, it never says that they're on anything, but it feels like they just like dropped Molly or something and they're just having a weird night, and then they're going to get to the morning and it's going to be weird. Like that's what, you know what I mean? It feels like the kind of really weird, intimate moment you might end up with, I don't know, drinking together or something with some friends and then you end up like, Or
all the people you promised are great.
Well, I was going to say is I do kind of understand Amber not getting elaborated on, though, because that also kind of feels like the way that night would go is, you know, we're all like stoned or something and get through the evening. And it's like, who was that again? I met last night. You know,
the woman you married.
But I think you're right too. It would have turned us on Rhett, because if she'd had like some sad backstory that came out or something like that, you'd be like, good Lord, Rhett, you're a piece of shit.
Yeah, truly. And he kind of has to be like the engine of change in this thing in a way that I feel like any more about Amber would have spoiled that. But we get a lovely song from Mark Duplass as well. We get Josh singing a little tune that just sounds like random words he pulled out of a hat, like he's James Joyce writing Finnegan's Wake, except it's awesome. A little song on a melodica. Or it's not a melodica. What is it? It's like a tiny little...
Oh, yeah, the key. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But it's like a child's keyboard. It's like a little toy piano. Yeah. Oh my God, it's a toy piano. It's a child's toy. It's just another...
Oh, it's just more of the... Holy shit. It's just
more of the fucking callback of them not being able to let go of their childhood. And it's nonsense words, like a song a child would make up. Oh my God.
I was thinking more just like an indie rock song, but sure, yeah, like a child would perform.
Like I said, like a child would. No, I've already burned the Krasinski Bridge. I cannot burn my indie crowd.
This is gonna be great because a year from now we'll like do an episode on like some big indie album because you have to apologize.
Yeah, listen, I have to apologize to the indie community.
Yeah, we're talking about Decemberists this week.
My name is Leslie Ann Levine. I can't do an impression of him. I wish I could. I have a friend who can do a perfect Decemberist guy impression.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's really great. I make him sing like Black Sabbath as the Decemberist guy, and it's really lovely.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But yeah, they get into a big fight now, right? This is the big fight scene.
Yeah. Well, it begins. It starts to lead to that. It'll be the big fight after this, but there's this one brutal thing with the song.
Oh yeah.
I think is like, I've had interactions like this where it's like he's expressing himself, and then she is then though hurt that he hasn't expressed himself prior to this moment. So her first reaction, instead of "I really liked that song," is "Why didn't you show me that before?" But then he reacts to that poorly, and it's just like
it just builds and snowballs and snowballs.
God damn it! It's really like just them being a bad match, because it's like even when he is doing kind of actually expressing himself a little bit, she's just been hurt too long, and so she just is thinking, well, why didn't you do this earlier?
Yeah, you idiot. This is what I was talking about, you stupid fuck. And it's just like, no, but like, I'm trying to do what you want finally. Yeah. And again, it is that thing that it's not judging anyone too harshly. It is really just trying to take this sort of very objective view of their relationship. I also think the insistence on having Josh in whitey tighties for the entire film is just such a bold and interesting choice, because you look at this guy and you're like, oh, 100%. That man has never known life without his balls being constricted. Do you know what I mean? Like, and it's also, I'm now realizing again, it's what kids wear, It's like, wow. Yeah.
He's a kid.
He looks like Winnie the Pooh. Like, he looks like a child, running in to watch Saturday morning cartoons during this entire fight.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So the big fight is, they talk about it later at the motel or hotel, whatever they've got.
This one seems like a nicer hotel. Like he seems like a hotel, on this one, but then he had the money to, I guess, because he extorted that poor upholsteryman, that furniture guy.
Yeah. And, they have this kind of, she asks if he wants to even be in a relationship, and he is both right, but also dodging a question because it's hard. Right in saying we shouldn't be talking about this right now, but also it's not just that, he just wants to not talk about the hard thing.
Yeah. He's also not sleepy. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's not near sleep. The excuse that he had last time isn't really there, because they're still pretty up from the whole wedding thing, right? Yeah. And I think that is a very appropriate time to talk if you're going to talk late at night. But also it could be tense. And so they finally like kind of talk it. They seem to be talking it out, and get some hurt out. And she says, like, I would marry you right now if you asked, and I don't feel like you feel the way for me. And she cries, and they're hugging, and it kind of feels like, well, maybe they're about to resolve it. And then she says, I deserve better. Oh. And then you're like, and then he asks the question, which is why do you want to marry me?
If you think you deserve better.
That's me. I'm the thing you have, so you deserve better than me. And she can't answer him. She doesn't have an answer as to why she wants to marry him. It's just a thing that I think that she thinks she has to do in that very childlike way that our society sort of programs women into thinking you have to get married, right? Like that should be an aspirational thing. You should be planning your wedding when you're like 5 or 6 years old, right? Your dream.
Yeah. And this really is you cheering on wanting them to break up at this moment too, because I think for her, that would be a liberation also, is a liberation, because what she does deserve better. It's a weird scene. in this movie because I empathize with Josh more. Because I think I've been the Josh in more often in past situations, but I think Emily's more in the right. I think she does deserve better. It's, you know what I mean? Like,
but that's such a difficult balancing act. And for a thing that looks like it was shot by Neil Breen. Do you know what I mean? Like, you look at this movie and you're just like, there is so much like intelligent shit going on in the storytelling and in like the filmmaking in just very subtle ways. But it looks like your dad shot it on a family vacation in 1997. It's a magic
It's amazing.
trick. Yeah.
It's
so funny. Even talking through this conversation, like I feel like I've grown to love this movie.
I know. I feel like
more.
It's
a movie which has the worst title I've ever heard in my life. The Puffy Chair? What is that? What does that mean?
This is also like, this is kind of a problem of Mumblecore is I feel like there are just a few real great gems in that genre, but they look the same as the shitty ones.
Yeah.
In like how they like, you know, market themselves, their posters, their titles, etc. So it's like you have to go through them to find the good ones. Like one of the better ones is not to get too far off topic, but is Lynn Shelton's Hump Day.
I don't know that one. I think I've seen the poster though, actually.
Exactly.
Weirdly.
And yes, and that poster does not look promising. Mm-mm. It looks like it's going to be a gay panic, no homo bro movie.
Yeah.
And it like kind of is, but it's really not. It's like a real good interrogation of like two guys' masculinity. Like it's pretty solid.
No homo, complimentary in parentheses.
Anyway, that would maybe be another episode I should do at some point.
Absolutely, you absolutely should. I mean, the poster for the Puffy Chair looks like it's a rejected one for Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide. Like it's just Sharpie like on a white background. All it's missing is the lines. Yeah, and it's just a picture of the titular chair, which, to be fair, looks pretty puffy. It
looks pretty puffy.
That's a puffy chair. But. Yeah,
it makes the movie kind of a pleasant surprise, though, because I mean, if once you do choose to watch it, but okay, where are we in the movie? Because
we are now at the point where they're going back, like the diner. It's the diner the next morning.
Diner, that's right. Yeah, so they've had the fight, and you know, Josh, I think like sleeps in the car is implied or whatever, but so they're silently eating at the diner. And bad energies. I've been Rhett in this situation a number of times also.
Where
when you sit down at a booth and you're like, something happened here.
You sit down and you just hear a voice in the back of your head, you've activated my trap card. And you're like, pot of greed, no. But it's horrible. It's horrible coming into those situations.
And but what's also funny about it is, of course, Rhett is coming in alone. So you know, okay, something's up, right? And he goes ahead and he says, you know, like Emily asks, where's Amber? And he says, like, it just wasn't meant to be, man. It just wasn't meant to be. And then his explanation for why they broke up is incoherent, but it is basically, she just got really sad, man.
Yeah, she started crying. I'm not about that. Tears stay on the inside. No, thank you.
See, like when I watched this the first time, I was more like, I was so sucked into the relationship stuff that I was like, oh, this is heartbreaking for Emily to now hear. Like, even though we knew this was going to happen, I was like more thinking of that. This time it was really funny. Like, him explaining it, because it's the most like you knew it was coming. And his explanation just barely makes any sense.
But I mean, the other thing about it too is we never see Amber's side of this whole thing. But it does sound like vaguely like they came to this agreement together. Like it was like she started crying, and then they were like, "Wait, what are we doing?" And
this is what I mean by it being incoherent, because it's either he dumped her because she cried and he wasn't about that, or they both like came down from the high of having a really weird day the previous day and were like, I don't think this is right.
That escalated way too quickly, and this needs a pleasure seeing you. What a weird time we had. It is unclear about that, but you know, to Emily, it is like people can't break up. That's just not a thing that people can do, right? It's like you made a mockery of marriage, the thing that I am apparently like all about.
That's my thing.
Yeah, you can also see like fucking Josh simmering in the corner, and he's dying to say "I told you so," but he can't. But you see it in his eyes. Like again, Mark Duplass, what a performer! You see I know my brother. It's so good. And he can't say it because he can't say it in front of Rhett, right? Like they cannot have this fight in front of him.
But you can see him, that smugness is just there. Like,
Yeah. But those bad vibes, they continue. They continue the entire. I'm looking at my notes here. 3,000 miles to Atlanta.
The 3,000 miles driving in a circle around Maine.
Till they land at the Duplass's actual house. But it's funny that Rhett gets to like sit in the puffy chair, right? He gets his little throne in the back. That visual really got me.
It's really good. It's also it's just so funny.
The chair almost doesn't fit in the car, and you're just like this. I mean, if they get in a car accident, he's dead. He's like gone immediately.
Yeah, so they go to pick up the chair, and the reupholster.
Right.
Has
the
locked.
This
is the most vivid scene in my head when I thought, like, prior to this rewatch, when I thought of the movie, this is the scene I thought of.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And because it was the scene I laughed the hardest at, and it is the second, also the scene I laughed the hardest at, I think, this time.
Oh,
he's such a fucking prick.
He is. Like, we see Rhett try to get the upholstery back, and we just hear a guy from the other side of the door going, "Go away, come back tomorrow." And then he just stops answering. Rhett gives up, goes back and gets Josh, and Josh is like, "I'll fucking take care of this. I'm the main fucking character." And he drives the van in and just lays on the horn until the guy opens it and goes and starts like really aggressively like just like yelling at this guy, and you see the guy be scared of him.
And
that kind of sobers Josh up a bit.
When you frame it that way, I feel real bad about laughing at the scene. Holy shit.
No.
You're right.
You should laugh at it because I think you should laugh at it because because Josh, he's not deterred from this, right? He sees him and then he just kind of like he quiets down, but he's no less threatening, right? He's like, I'm gonna sit in my car and I'm gonna watch you reupholster this. And he goes and he sits in his van and he watches him. And it's like, this son of a bitch. Like, this was the point of no return for me on Josh. Was just like, this old man did nothing to you. His
this
whole
guy's
job
a monster.
is reupholstering chairs.
Josh is a monster, to clarify. I'm not randomly calling the old man an old man.
No, the old man. Here's the thing. Just off screen, just a pile of skeletons. This guy.
Monster.
He's been hiding the bodies in the chairs the whole time. That's why it takes him so long.
The thing about this is he's got like these handful of these couple scenes where he's intimidating people in various ways, like fucking with people. And what I kind of realize is it is almost a character growth in a bad way. He's getting better at it. He's getting better at fucking with people.
Yeah. Well, they tried to tell you with the tidy whities, he is Walter White.
Yeah. There you go. This would have predate, right?
By a significant margin, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
No, because that first Breaking Bad season is like earlier than I always think.
Vince Gilligan, huge Duplass Brothers fan, loves the puffy chair.
Yeah, 2008. I'm not crazy. Only 3 years.
Only 3 years.
After this.
Okay, so that isn't too much time. Originally, Walt was going to smuggle all of his meth in Lazy Boys. That was
it's just. Oh man. I'd like to see a Duplass directed Breaking Bad.
Oh man,
it's just like lots of conversations that don't go anywhere.
I know they've done a lot of TV. What's weird is it's always been on like cable packages I don't have, so I haven't really caught a lot of it. But I do want to. I think they're very good.
Yeah, I mean, it looks funny. They have this that tragic comic kind of thing that I think I just inherently find incredibly funny. And So it seems up my alley, television wise.
Yeah.
But
we'll do a special series where we do a rewatch of a show we haven't seen.
Yeah, there we go.
That's what people want, right? That's what people want for podcasts, is two people being like, well, neither of us have seen this, so I guess let's just do it.
Yeah, basing this off like Wikipedia synopses.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. Oh, hell yeah.
It's perfect. No, so he gets the chair and they are driving back, and as you mentioned, Rhett is sitting in it, and Rhett senses there's some bad vibes.
He's a good vibe checker, Rhett.
Yeah, but this whole thing captures Rhett perfectly. Is that he's both really good at reading the emotions in the air, but he's a fucking moron about what we need to do about it.
Right. Yes. Yes.
His thought process is not necessarily like, he wants to get people talking, but it isn't like, oh, there's a bad energy, we've been fighting, we need to talk some stuff out. It's
right.
Because Josh used unethical means to get this chair, we must destroy the chair. Yes.
Yes. I mean, he's not one for finesse. He is a hammer of a character, and I find that very charming about him. I find that he knows exactly who he is and what he wants, and he's able to go after it because he doesn't know any better, right? Like he is, he knows that this chair is evil, and has pinpointed that all of like the trouble of the movie is like metaphorically entombed inside this suede, right? But he doesn't know how to like articulate that. He just knows that the vibes are bad. So he lights the chair on fucking fire, and it's glorious.
It's so great. Yeah, so they stay at a motel or hotel or whatever. They stay somewhere. And while they're doing that, Rhett sneaks out. He pours gasoline all over or lighter fluid or whatever it is on all over the chair. Lights it on fire. Josh runs out just in time to see it, tackles his brother, and Emily comes out and screams, and it's just an incredibly funny.
I love the guy. Sequence. I love the hotel owner who just like runs out, like he runs out with a fire extinguisher and blows on it. But he doesn't look like panicked. He's just kind of like, oh, I gotta do this. They're gonna be so mad at me if I don't put out this fire.
When I worked at a coffee shop in Des Moines, I had this time where this guy came up to me at the counter, and he was just incredibly calm, but he was kind of like tapping like urgently, and I'm like, hey, what's up? And he goes, yeah, man, could I get a fire extinguisher or some water or something? And I look up, and behind him in the glass windows, I can see his car is on fire.
Oh my God. Sorry, I don't mean to trouble you. I know you're very busy.
Yeah,
but would
something
you happen
is happening
to have some sort of flame suppressant? There it goes.
There was like 2 or 3 times at that job that just like cars caught on fire outside. I don't know why.
Was your parking lot particularly hot? What was going on in Des Moines?
No, like I don't know. There's nothing causing it. It seems it just happened more than once.
Wow. Oh, that's great. Was he able to put the fire out? Like,
yeah, he was.
The car didn't blow up or anything.
No.
Okay.
None of them ever exploded, but it happened. Yeah. Like, wow. I think at least 2 times, maybe 3 times. I'm blurring them together in my head now.
That's good quality American engineering right there.
That's right. Okay. Wait. So he set it on fire.
Yeah.
And
we put it out with the fire extinguisher. It's been put out.
Fire extinguisher. It's out. And so then they decide, well, let's just finish the road trip anyway.
Yeah.
And they go to the parents' place. They kind of, there's less anger than you would expect in that whole scene, because like Josh tackles Rhett initially, but then after a minute he apologizes for it.
Yeah. And the largest arm cast you've ever seen is put on Mark Duplass, full up the arm yellow cast. And they go to Atlanta and they meet the literal Mr. and Mrs. Duplass. They meet his parents, who play Josh's parents.
Yeah, and they're really normal. So this is an interesting thing that Matthew Chrisman pointed out on Letterboxd that I was thinking about with this.
Sure, yeah.
Is that throughout the movie, chair kind of feels like it's supposed to represent, their like childhood, that nostalgia that they're holding on to, whatever their upbringing. Yeah. And because of, like what it becomes as a totem, like in the movie, it like, you expect it to eventually represent that they have a fucked up family. That's kind of why Rhett and Josh are the way they are. Right. And, that they had to burn their childhood, set themselves free from that, like that seems like that's what the metaphor is. But no, the family's really normal. And I actually like that because, Matt Chrisman is quoting someone else, but what he writes is people's shit is at some point their own. And even if we are fucked up by our folks, as Philip Larkin wrote, it's rarely clear just how they went about doing so. I think that's a good way of reading it, is like actually the parents being normal suddenly pushes the personal responsibility back on them. It's like, no, you aren't this way just because you have a dick dad or something. Actually, your dad's really nice. Yeah. You're just cool. Being a dick.
and he gives like probably the best advice in the whole movie, which is, Josh is like, should I commit to this or not? And he's like, you know everything about your relationship that you are ever going to know. So you got to make the decision now. Like, it's never going to get clear. You're waiting for life to like go one way or the other, to like something really bad happens or something really good happens that will make the decision for you. But that's just not going to happen. You have to do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he doesn't.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. See, I love it because that is like a really moving scene. And also at that moment, you are kind of, I don't know, with how things have gone, you kind of are starting to get the impression they are going to be together still. And like his advice is going to be like, oh, maybe I should, stand up and finally marry her. Like that seems like that's what his takeaway is going to be.
Yeah.
And then we come to the final scene, which like was incredibly emotional for me the first time I watched it. And this time I found actually really funny. And I'll have to give my case for this. Yeah. I don't know how to explain how uncontrollably I laughed at a couple scenes. We'll get to it, like to what happens. But yeah. They meet in the park, and you're like, this is gonna be the moment that he finally uses his dad's
pops
advice.
The question,
or something. And they don't. He's just like, they're just kind of awkwardly like, been thinking a lot. And she finally goes, well, what have you got? And he goes, I've got nothing. And then this is what got me, is he says just the most incoherent sentence. I wish I'd written it down verbatim, because it's just him like going like,
got nothing. I'm confused. I got about 50 million fucking thoughts and strategies about how some shit is, and I don't fucking know shit.
And then the camera put hands to her, and she goes,
I think that we should break up.
We should break up.
Yeah.
And again, that scene was really emotional to me the first time I saw it. I died laughing at that because it was just her like, you're a dumbass.
She does deserve better, and you see it fully in that moment. God. And it's one of those things that, like, it is sort of, what I really love about it too is like, after the whole, he's just like, is that what you really want, or is that just because that's what you think I want? And she's just like, I just think we should break up. And they hug each other, and they cry into each other. And I feel like that feels to me the most like a breakup. Most movie breakups are like things are thrown and I'm leaving, and they slam the door. But I found that pretty much every major relationship that I had that ended with that, with a, I think we should break up, hug, wishing you well on your way, and they go. It's not saying that kind of breakup doesn't happen in real life, but it's so rare to see this particular kind of one portrayed on screen.
Yeah. One thing, I don't know if I'm projecting onto it or not, is the hug goes on a little long, right? Yeah. And it kind of looks like there's a second. Josh goes, okay. And it kind of seems like he's trying to pull away. And I don't know if I'm projecting onto that.
Not letting go. Wow. Yeah.
But that was one of those things where I don't know if I'm reading too much into it or if not, because to me, I found that funny where it's like, he can't even have this moment. He can't not eventually be like, okay, okay, we're done hugging now. Like, he can't just have this moment with her, even this.
Yeah, no, I keep thinking about that incoherent sentence that you said earlier, because it's the first time that he's not borrowing something, right?
And it makes no sense.
And it's nonsense. Because he's just so emotionally stunted that he can't even form a coherent thought about what he's feeling. And when he tries to, it sounds like he's having a stroke. Or that he's James Joyce writing Finnegan's Wake. I've been reading Finnegan's Wake. So I have it on the mind.
You have a beef with Finnegan's Wake, eh?
I do. Okay, here's a question. Do you want to read a book that's just a bunch of crossword answers stapled together haphazardly? Then enjoy Finnegan's fucking Wake. I'm coming for you, Joyce.
I haven't read it. So I can't. I want to defend it, but I haven't read it, so I don't know why.
I just got a news alert that John Krasinski is adapting Finnegan's Wake. I'm gonna burn that movie to the ground. That's a lie. That is a lie.
Oh man, you freaked me out. No,
I'm sorry. No, John Krasinski can't read. So that's untrue.
Book?
He can read.
No, he
did
can read
the
Tom
book
Clancy
that he stole.
books.
He can read Tom Clancy books, and he can read the book that he stole from. Allegedly, he did settle out of court. Allegedly. Yeah. But yeah, well, God, that's the Puffy Chair.
That's the Puffy Chair. And yeah, I don't know if I'm projecting onto that like last sentence, that last scene, but like to me, that's why it felt really cynical this time. In a way, it didn't. It was like this guy just is so incapable of like having any emotional connection. But yeah, I think this movie is really smart in how it explores this shit.
Oh, hell yeah.
I think this was a good defense of Mumblecore movie, I think.
Yeah. No, this is definitely one I would defend to my friends that we could watch. You know, it's
yeah.
I feel like as I think we talked about and we will talk about more the Squid and the Whale when you come on Fancy Movie Time to talk about Francis Ha, but that movie is not one I can like entirely recommend to people just because it makes me so uncomfy. This is not like that movie is like I cave in on myself like a dying star because it's so caustic, and this one feels less to me somehow because it does achieve that magic trick of being sentimental while also being just deeply darkly funny.
Yeah. That being said, I think I do really like the Puffy Chair. I think I like the Squid and the Whale more. I think I like more acidic stuff than you.
Sure, that's fair.
I think I'm a little more mean-spirited.
Well, I think I used to that's also a thing that I also really liked, back in the day. I feel like as I've gotten older in my age, I do feel like I gravitate towards stuff that is more sentimental, but I've always been kind of a sap. I think the tricks just work on me in a way because I approach everything like I am like an ingenue in a I was going to make a musical reference, but I don't want to inflict that upon you. That I come into everything sort of bright-eyed and bushy-tailed because I want to get on movies' wavelengths and sort of follow the flow with them. And this one is so interesting because no matter what your wavelength, you're going to find something cool in it. If you're a sentimentalist, you're going to be like, oh, what a tragic love story. And there were some really heartfelt moments, and these were just two people who didn't work out. And if you're, a caustic, someone who that sounds mean. If you're somebody that enjoys more acidic stuff, like you're going to be the sicko pressing himself against the glass going, ha, yeah, break up in a park.
Yeah, no, I think it's both. And I mean, I have that sentimental aspect to me too also, but I think that in this movie balances that, I think. Yeah.
In a really remarkable way. I did not think we would have such a wonderful conversation about a movie that I thought was terrible when I was 16. And here we are. I feel like this movie is really profound. Yeah.
Yeah, until rewatching it last night, I was still like, it was mostly just kind of a funny idea based off that little interaction last year and just building off that. It's like, oh, that's a movie. This will be easy. But like, not after doing it, I was like, this is a really good movie. Like, what the fuck? I underrated how good it was, I think.
Yeah, the A.O. Scott review also was just like, these characters don't ever look at anything outside of themselves, and the movie would be more profound if they were to do that. And I was like, I don't know. I think this was just like, maybe it's just because ever since this movie, because the Puffy Chair feels very like instrumental in like the shaping of how movies would happen further on down the line. I think it was just because it was in that combination of that 2005 year you said, right? Where
and we didn't even talk about, but like they were really like one of the first movies Netflix bought as and distributed, and so that was like part of their early success. And like so it really and I mean now that is Netflix is most of a lot of movies now. Right.
And then no one, and they're instantly gone. Like they're on Netflix and then no one ever hears about them again. You can't even watch this on American Netflix anymore. Which is
insane.
It said Netflix presents, and I'm like, does
really?
it? Like,
because I'm watching this on Freevee.
Yeah, there's ads every 20 minutes. Does it ruin the pacing? I mean, actually, really, not really, because it is a vignette movie, and they've placed the ads to happen
with
in
the
between vignettes
pretty nicely. Yeah,
it's really quite something. But yeah, no, I feel like the movie would be less if it focused on things outside these characters, because it would try and be about something more than it is. And it's so perfectly its own thing.
And these characters are all to some degree or another narcissistic. And so I think most Mumblecore movies end up being about narcissistic young adults.
Sure.
Most of the time, right? And but like I think that what differentiates in my head a good versus a bad Mumblecore movie, at least of the ones that are about like this kind of narcissistic young adult thing, is if you tell me as a criticism, it's just all the characters are so narcissistic. Do I agree with you, or do I go, well, no, that's the point? Right. And a good one is the one where I go, oh no, that's the point though.
Yeah.
As like, I think it fits that's what the movie's trying to explore, is that this person is a narcissistic prick. That's the pretentious person or something like that, rather than ones where it's like, the characters, they want me to like the characters, and they're also narcissists, and I hate that.
Oh man. Well, right. I mean, again, I also feel a lot of those things about the genre. Like I sort of fell into the trap of like Mumblecore is just a bunch of very annoying people mumbling under their breath for a while, and no plot, loose, just
really lazy filmmaking, stuff like that. Yeah,
in 90 minutes, but turgid and just like long. And this one, like, it really flies by, and it really just is like a bunch of like snapshots of like. It feels like watching a vacation video that your dad took of like a road trip to somewhere that you remember being very fraught at the time. Yeah. And then you go back and you watch it, but most of the video is just very happy memories. And then every once in a while, you just get this, like, you get like a bit of dialogue that like indicates all the fraughtness happening just off camera. Yeah. That's what this feels like. Like you found somebody else's vacation video and you're just witnessing the demise of their relationship. And it's so effective. Yeah. Like, it's not that it is Mumblecore. It's because this story needed to be told in this particular way or it wouldn't have worked.
I don't think this movie would work if it was with like nice cameras and shit. I actually think the home video feel really adds a lot to it. Like, but also that the home video doesn't become a gimmick. Like it's not a found footage thing or something like that. It's not like the camera becomes part of it, but it's just shot like that. It just looks like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a wonderful shot in the scene where they're watching the lizard where I think Rhett is in profile facing the TV and Josh is right behind him. And the way they're framed, it looks like a fucking painting, but it has that sort of like gradation over it. So it's still like you're very much aware that you're watching like a documentary style, like handheld camera or whatever. But like the shot is composited in such a way where you're just like, like if they had actual cameras, this would also look nice, but it wouldn't feel as visceral as this. Like you wouldn't see the grain in their pupils.
Yeah, he does like pretty good blocking and stuff like that. And so like even though it's well cut, well edited. The camera angles are solid. They all are really good. But also that shitty video I think adds a quality to it. And so it's a cool thing. I don't know. Yeah, I think it captures a lot of like like Lars von Trier was really influential on a lot of the Mumblecore guys, but like Joe Swanberg wants to be like Lars von Trier. And actually, I think by these guys being less like Lars von Trier, they actually catch the little good nuances of his style better.
Yeah. I mean, you want to talk about unerotic and leering. Lars.
Oh,
Oof.
man. Yeah.
And, but I bet that's complimentary. That for Lars, it's sort of in parentheses complimentary, unerotic and leering.
Yeah, you're going to see one of the most graphic sex scenes you've ever seen, and it will be the least horny thing.
Yeah, it's sort of like, have you ever seen Before the Devil Knows You're Dead?
No, I did not see it.
The opening shot of that movie is a black screen with the credits, and you just hear the slapping of skin on skin. And then the first thing you see is Philip Seymour Hoffman fucking this woman from behind. And just the slapping of their skin together. And again, this is also a movie I watched with my parents. And that's the first one. And I felt the entire room tense up all at once. But nobody moved. And it's just like, okay, I guess we're going to watch the whole film just squeezing our buttholes. praying it's only 90 minutes because we cannot sustain this body tension.
Oh man, yeah, I don't think you'd actually said this on this that you'd seen The Squid and the Whale with your parents for the first time.
Did.
That is awful.
Yeah. Okay, so for listeners, one of the main plot points of Squid and the Whale is that the kid is coming in library books. Like the young boy is masturbating into library books. And I was watching that movie with my parents, and I was just like, oh God, what if they find all the places that I've come? What if this is the clue that finally has them crack the case that I am masturbating?
I just couldn't think of a worse movie to watch with the parents, because you have that with the kid, and then most of the movie is like really intense fights between two middle-aged parents.
Yeah, it's just a divorce
in a
movie.
really, in a really good way, similar to this movie, where it captures little nuances that I bet watching it with a partner might be a bad thing.
Oh, yeah. Everyone, watch The Puffy Chair. Don't watch it if you're in, like, that stage of the relationship where you're like, uh-oh. Like, don't do that, because this movie will break you up. Or honestly, if you want to rip off the Band-Aid, throw on The Puffy Chair. Let's get you out of that bad relationship. You like Emily, deserve better.
You deserve... well, I think that's the movie. I think we've done it.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I wanted to mention before we wrap up here is, of course, if people enjoyed this conversation, this is a crossover event.
Yeah.
With Fancy Movie Time, the Worst of All Possible Worlds show behind the Patreon,
which will hopefully be out by the time this episode drops. I am a slow editor, so I will do my darndest. I just started rehearsals for a play, so my time is limited. But yeah, we're gonna talk about Frances Ha. Brian and I spent the last two Fancy Movie Times doing Surrealists. We did The Discreet Charm of the Bourgeoisie and The Exterminating Angel as a double feature in December, and I did not care for The Discreet Charm of the Bourgeoisie. Did care for The Exterminating Angel. Thought that ruled. Speaking of caustic movies.
Yeah, I'm not a huge Boonwell fan either. Maybe I need to just try more, but
I think the more abstract he is, the more I like him. When he tries to get a plot in there, I feel like it's a little bit worse. I feel it kind of constrains him, honestly. And then we watched The Holy Mountain.
Yeah, you watched The Holy Mountain?
Jesus Christ. Neither of us particularly cared for that one. What do you think about Holy Mountain? You a fan?
I actually have never seen it. I've never seen it. So
you don't have to. Look up screenshots, honestly. That feels fine. A lot less nude children. Jesus. But anyway, and now we're moving towards, we were like, we have to get a rating from the Surrealists, at least for a little while. What's the polar opposite of that? And then Josiah, you had reached out about talking about the Puffy Chair, and I was like, let's get Josiah on and we'll do some more Mumblecore. We'll do Frances Ha.
Yeah, and Frances Ha is like probably the most successful Mumblecore movie and one of the ones I haven't seen.
Oh,
and so that's what I'm really excited about. Yeah,
because you've watched most of other Bompox stuff, right? Like Barbie.
Well, Yes, this in the last month. So fun. I'll say this again when we record.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, Bomboc's a blind spot for me. Was a blind spot for me, and so then I was like, you know what? I bet I could watch all of Noah Baumbach's movies before we record.
No!
And I did.
You did?
I did.
Oh my God, you did more homework than me. Oh,
That's
no.
fine. Well, it was two birds with one stone because it was an embarrassing blind spot to me. He's a huge director and I hadn't seen like any of his movies. So
right. Do you feel like, having now seen a lot of his movies, I'll ask you this also again, but do you feel like when you watch Barbie, do you see a lot of his aesthetic?
Not a ton.
In there, like writing wise, even. Yeah, it's mostly
maybe
girly,
little of the writing there. Yeah, we'll have to get into talking about Barbie on that episode too, because I've mixed feelings about that movie.
yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, but yeah. Well, I think that's it. Is there anything you want to plug or anything before we officially wrap it up?
Oh, sure. Come listen to Josiah's episode of The Worst of All Possible Worlds. Fucking rules. And you know, if you want to hear more about me, about movies, you can subscribe to our Patreon and you get fancy movie time where again you will get to hear Josiah. So really, it's like, you know.
Yeah,
it's Josiah Mania over there at the Worst of All Possible Worlds Patreon. We're crazy about him, and you know, it is so infuriating for you to be so young and so good at this already. Like it took me,
I appreciate that.
It took me literally like 2 years to figure out how to talk into a microphone. So the fact that you can host your own show and be so insightful and like talk about a wide variety of topics, you know, a thing that is very near and dear to our hearts over at Worst of All Possible Worlds, and do
absolutely.
And do it with just like really staggering stuff where like you're like, oh yeah, of course, but in a way you would never come to that conclusion by yourself. I mean, it's really remarkable work. So I'm so happy to be here, and anytime you want me back, just let me know. I'm more than happy because this conversation was thrilling. You made me like a movie I thought I hated. How dare you?
This was so fun. I'm so looking forward to next we're recording the episode tomorrow, the night after this episode. So
yeah, I'm gonna fly your podcast into the sea, and there's nothing Bright Eyes can do about it.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you like what you heard, make sure to subscribe and check out the back catalog, and maybe rate and review on Apple Podcasts. It helps us out with the algorithm. And if you want even more stuff, you can check out the Patreon. It's $3 a month. Recent episodes have included a conversation with my good friend Francis Cooper, who ended up at a Jimmy Dore show. And also another discussion of a Mumblecore movie, Kissing on the Mouth, paired with Short Bus, which is not a Mumblecore movie. I had that conversation with reoccurring guest Alien, which is a very fun time. Speaking of patrons, this episode is brought to you by our lovely patrons, who include Men's Room Louie, Joseph Gross, Gavin Aronson, Stephen aka Spike Stonehand, The Worst of All Possible Worlds, Moss, Kyoganis, Regular Sized Horse, (small), I Am Once Again, and of course, Chris Barker. Thank you so much for listening, and now here's a Bright Eye song.
Talk in every telephone, get eaten off the web. Must rip out all the epilogues from the books that we have read. Into the face of every criminal, strapped firmly to a chair. We must stare, we must stare, we must stare. We must take all of the medicines, too expensive now to sell. Set fire to the preacher who is promising us hell. Into the ear of every anarchist that sleeps but doesn't dream. We must sing, we must sing, we must sing. It'll go like this, alright. While my mother waters plants, my father loads his gun. He says death will give us back to God, just like the setting sun is returned to the lonesome ocean. And then they splashed into the deep blue sea. Oh, it was a wonderful splash. to the choir, sing ecstatic with the whole. Must memorize 9 numbers and deny we have a soul. Into this endless race for property and privilege to be won, we must run, we must run, we must run. We must hang up in the belfry where the bats in moonlight laugh. We must stare into a crystal ball and only see the past. Into the caverns of tomorrow with just our flashlights and our love. We must plunge, we must plunge, we must plunge. And then we'll get down there, way down to the very bottom of everything. And then we'll see it, oh we'll see it, we'll see it, we'll see it. Oh my morning's coming back. The whole world's waking up. All the city buses swimming past. I'm happy just because I found out our